Before 2026 starts, let me give you a rule that will save you years of frustration. Never tell people what you're about to do. Ladies and gentlemen, if there's one rule you need to carry into 2026, it's this. Never tell people what you do. Not because you're arrogant, not because you're secretive, but because most people are not qualified to hear your future. See, the moment you speak your vision out loud, you place it on trial, and the jury is made up of people who've never built what you're building. You call it transparency, they call it unrealistic. You call it ambition, they call it risky. And slowly, quietly, your fire starts negotiating with their fear. Let me tell you something powerful. Your dream does not need approval, it needs protection. Every time you explain your plans, you invite opinions, and opinions are expensive. They cost you clarity, they cost you confidence, they cost you speed. The fastest people I've ever seen don't talk much, they move. They don't announce the seed. They show the harvest because results silence doubt better than arguments ever could. Here's the truth. Most people won't tell you. Talking feels productive, but it's not. Execution is uncomfortable. Silence is lonely. Progress is boring. But winners are built in boring seasons, not viral moments. And let's be honest, not everyone wants you to win. Some people want you happy, some want you safe, some want you the same. Your growth threatens their comfort. So when you tell them your plans, they don't hear opportunity, they hear distance. That's why they discourage you out of love. But love without vision is limitation. 2026 is not the year to convince. It's the year to commit, not to explain, but to execute, not to announce, but to arrive. Let your silence confuse them. Let your discipline scare them. Let your results introduce you. Because when you finally speak in 2026, you won't be explaining what you're about to do. You'll be standing in what you've already done. And that requires no explanation. Vision dies under too much explanation because the moment you begin to over-explain what God placed in you, you start shrinking it to fit the listening capacity of people who didn't receive it. A vision is fragile in its early stages. It is not weak, but it is unborn. And anything unborn needs protection, not publicity. When you explain too early, you turn something alive into something debatable. You hand your future to people who only know your past, and you expect them to see what you see. But vision is not logical at first, it is prophetic. It doesn't make sense before it makes results. That's why explanation is dangerous. Explanation invites opinions, and opinions are often rooted in fear, experience, and limitation. People don't respond to your vision based on its potential. They respond based on their own history. So when you explain, you unknowingly allow their ceilings to press down on your calling. Most people don't mean harm, but intention doesn't cancel impact. Their questions sound innocent, but every how, every are you sure, every that's risky chips away at your certainty. And certainty is fuel. When certainty leaks, momentum slows. Vision needs motion, not meetings. It needs discipline, not discussion. The more you talk, the more you feel like you've already done something. And talking gives a false sense of progress. Your brain rewards you for speaking as if you executed. And that's why so many people are exhausted without results. They explain their dream to death. Explanation also forces vision to defend itself before it's ready to fight. A seed doesn't argue with the soil, it just grows. But when you explain your vision, you put it in a courtroom too early, and now it has to justify its existence instead of developing its strength. Vision matures in silence. Silence sharpens focus. Silence builds stamina. Silence keeps you aligned with why you started when no one is clapping yet. Loud vision seeks validation. Quiet vision seeks completion. Every time you explain, you divide your energy. One part is still dreaming, the other part is convincing. And you cannot build and persuade at the same time. Builders are misunderstood until they are undeniable. That's the price. If you want to be understood early, you will sacrifice greatness later. Vision requires the courage to be private, the discipline to be misunderstood, and the patience to let results do the talking. When the work speaks, explanations retire. In 2026, the people who win will not be the ones who talk the most. They will be the ones who protected their vision long enough for it to become visible. Because once vision is visible, it no longer needs explanation. It introduces itself. Opinions are the tax on potential, because the moment you step outside the average, People feel entitled to charge you for it. Every time you reveal a big idea, a bold move, or an unconventional goal, opinions show up immediately. Not because people understand what you're doing, but because your potential makes them uncomfortable. Opinions are rarely about you. They are reflections of the limits people have already accepted in their own lives. When someone hears your vision, they don't evaluate it through possibility, they evaluate it through probability based on their past. And if they've never done it, never seen it done, or failed trying something similar, their opinion becomes a warning disguised as wisdom. The danger is not that opinions exist. The danger is when you start paying attention to them. Every opinion you entertain takes a portion of your belief, your focus, and your courage. That's the tax. You don't pay it with money. You pay it with momentum. Potential grows best in environments of conviction, not consensus. But opinions demand consensus. They want you to slow down, explain yourself, justify your ambition, and make your dream more realistic. And realistic is often just another word for familiar. When you listen too closely, you begin to negotiate with your own vision. You lower the standard, adjust the timeline, or dilute the goal so it feels safer to others. That's how potential gets quietly repossessed. Most opinions are unsolicited, yet we treat them like expert advice. We give weight to voices that have no proof, no results, and no responsibility for the outcome of our lives. If your plan fails, they won't pay the price. If it succeeds, they'll take credit for always believing in you. Opinions are cheap to give and expensive to follow. They create hesitation, and hesitation is deadly to execution. Potential needs speed, repetition, and focus. Opinions interrupt all three. They cause you to second-guess decisions you already felt peace about. They turn intuition into insecurity. Another hidden cost of opinions is identity erosion. When you hear enough outside voices, you slowly drift from who you are to who people expect you to be. You stop moving in alignment and start moving in approval. And approval is a poor substitute for purpose. High potential individuals are often misunderstood early because they don't fit into existing categories. Opinions try to force them into boxes that are too small. If you accept those boxes, your potential has no room to expand. The truth is, opinions never disappear when you grow. They just change tone. When you're starting, they doubt you. When you're winning, they question your methods. When you succeed, they study you. The only way to avoid opinions is to do nothing meaningful, and that's a tax far greater than criticism. The goal is not to eliminate opinions, but to stop funding them with your attention. In 2026, the people who maximize their potential will be the ones who understand this. Opinions are unavoidable, but they are optional. You don't owe your future an explanation, and you don't owe your potential a payment to people who never invested in it. Results speak louder than announcements, because achievement has a frequency that words can never match. Anyone can talk, anyone can post, anyone can promise, but very few can produce. Announcements create expectations, but results create authority. When you announce too early, you put pressure on your future to perform on a timeline set by public opinion instead of disciplined process. You start working to protect your reputation instead of building real skill. That's how people rush, cut corners, and burn out. Noise demands speed. Results demand patience. Announcements also dilute focus. The moment you tell people what you're going to do, your attention splits. One part of you is building, the other part is monitoring reactions. You start counting likes, listening to comments, adjusting based on applause or silence. But applause is a terrible compass. It points toward popularity, not progress. Results require tunnel vision. They require long stretches where no one is clapping, no one is asking questions, and no one even knows you're working. That's where real capacity is built. That's where habits are formed and character is tested. Announcements skip that stage and try to jump straight to recognition. Another danger of announcements is that they satisfy the ego before the work is done. Talking about success gives the brain a false reward. It feels like movement without resistance. That's why so many people are motivated to speak, but inconsistent in execution. Results don't care how inspired you felt when you announced your plan. They only respond to what you did repeatedly when no one was watching. Results are honest. They expose discipline or the lack of it. They don't argue. They don't explain. They simply show up. When you lead with results, you remove the need for persuasion. You don't have to convince anyone of your value when proof is visible. Results collapse skepticism. They silence critics faster than debate ever could. Arguments invite back and forth. Results end the conversation. That's why the most respected people are often the least vocal. They don't need to announce their next move, because their last one still speaks. Their track record introduces them before they open their mouth. In a world addicted to visibility, choosing results over announcements is an act of discipline. It requires humility to work in silence and confidence, to wait for the right moment. But when results arrive, they arrive with weight. They carry credibility, leverage, and influence. In 2026, the people who win won't be the ones who said the most about what they were going to do. They'll be the ones who showed up with evidence. Because when results speak, announcements become unnecessary. Energy is a currency because everything you build, change, or pursue in life is paid for with it. Not money first, not talent first, not even time first. Energy comes before all of that. You can have time and waste it. You can have talent and underuse it. You can even have money and mismanage it. But without energy, nothing moves. And just like money, energy can be invested wisely or spent carelessly. Most people don't fail because they lack opportunity. They fail because their energy leaks in places that never produce a return. One of the fastest ways to lose energy is through unnecessary explanation. Every time you explain your plans, defend your decisions, or justify your pace, you spend emotional and mental energy that should have gone into execution. Explanation drains focus. It pulls you into conversations that don't move the needle and forces you to relive decisions you already made. That kind of mental friction is expensive. It wears you down quietly. You may not feel it in one conversation, but over time it adds up. You wake up tired, not because you work too hard, but because you talk too much. Another major energy leak is validation seeking. When your motivation becomes external, your energy becomes unstable. Applause gives you a temporary boost, but silence creates doubt. That emotional roller coaster is exhausting. Protecting your energy means anchoring it to purpose, not people's reactions. When you know why you're doing something, you don't need constant encouragement to continue. You move with consistency instead of emotion. High performers are not always highly motivated. They are highly disciplined with where their energy goes. Energy is also affected by environment. Every room you walk into either deposits into you or withdraws from you. Conversations, relationships, and even content you consume are transactions. Some leave you sharper and clearer. Others leave you drained and distracted. Protecting your energy requires boundaries. Not everyone deserves access to your thoughts, your plans, or your presence. Boundaries are not selfish, they are strategic. You don't give everyone your money, and you shouldn't give everyone your energy. The mistake many people make is trying to manage time without managing energy. Time management fails when energy is low. You can schedule discipline, but if your energy is depleted, execution suffers. Protecting energy means prioritizing rest, clarity, and focus. It means saying no more often than yes. It means understanding that not every opportunity is an assignment. Some opportunities are distractions dressed up as progress. In 2026, the people who rise will not be the busiest or the loudest. They will be the most selective. They will invest their energy where it compounds. They will stop spending it on arguments, explanations, comparisons, and approval. Because once you understand that energy is a currency, you stop wasting it, you protect it, you invest it, and you watch it produce results that others never have the stamina to sustain. Most people don't want you to win, they want you to stay relatable, because relatability feels safe. When you are familiar, predictable, and operating at a level they understand, your presence doesn't challenge anything inside them. But the moment you start growing beyond what they imagine for themselves, discomfort enters the room. It's not always jealousy, and it's rarely hatred. Most of the time, it's fear. Your progress forces people to confront the distance between where they are and where they hope to be. So instead of rising with you, they try to keep you close. This is why encouragement often disappears right when momentum starts. In the beginning, people cheer because your dream feels hypothetical. It's harmless. It doesn't threaten identity or hierarchy. But once your vision starts turning into action, once discipline replaces talk, support becomes quieter. Jokes turn into questions. Questions turn into concern. Concern turns into subtle resistance. They'll say things like, "Don't change, remember where you came from," or "Just don't forget us." What they're really saying is stay the same so we don't have to adjust how we see ourselves. Relatability is comfort, and comfort loves company. When you outgrow a shared struggle, you unintentionally remove a bond that was built on sameness. Growth creates distance, and distance exposes truth. Some relationships were never rooted in love, only in convenience. When you stop struggling the same way, the connection weakens. That's why people sometimes criticize your discipline, minimize your wins, or question your methods. If they can shrink your progress, they can preserve their comfort. The danger is when you start shrinking yourself to maintain access. When you dim your ambition so others don't feel left behind. When you slow down so no one feels insecure. When you explain your success so it sounds less threatening. That's how people trade destiny for belonging. But belonging that requires self-betrayal is too expensive. You were not designed to stay relatable forever. You were designed to evolve. Winning requires separation before it brings influence. Every level of growth has a lonely phase where you no longer fit where you were, but you haven't arrived where you're going. That space is uncomfortable, but it's necessary. If you try to carry everyone with you, you'll move at the speed of the least committed person. And vision does not wait for consensus. It demands courage. The truth is, people will celebrate your success once it's undeniable, but very few will support the process that produces it. They like the finish line, not the discipline. They like the story, not the sacrifice. So you must decide whether you want approval now or respect later. In 2026, the people who win will accept this reality without bitterness. They won't argue, explain, or seek permission. They'll keep moving. Because staying relatable feels good temporarily, but becoming who you were called to be lasts forever. 2026 belongs to the discipline, not the loud, because noise has never built anything that lasted. Loudness creates attention, but discipline creates out. T comes. We're living in a time where visibility is mistaken for value and volume is confused with impact. Everyone is talking. Everyone is posting. Everyone is announcing what they're about to do. But the future does not respond to enthusiasm alone. It responds to consistency. It responds to repetition. It responds to the quiet decision to show up every day, whether anyone is watching or not. Discipline is unglamorous. It doesn't trend well. It doesn't feel exciting in the moment. It's waking up when motivation is low. It's doing the same boring actions again and again with no guarantee of applause. Loud people want credit before completion. Disciplined people want completion before credit. That difference determines who actually moves forward. The loud burn energy trying to be seen. The disciplined conserve energy trying to be effective. Noise creates pressure to perform for an audience. Discipline creates freedom to perform for a purpose. When you are loud, you become reactive. You adjust based on opinions, metrics, and external feedback. When you are disciplined, you become anchored. You adjust based on standards, values, and long-term vision. Discipline builds internal authority. Loudness seeks external validation. And validation is unstable. It rises and falls with trends, moods, and algorithms. Discipline stays steady when nothing changes on the outside. Another truth is that loudness often hides insecurity. It compensates for lack of structure. When people don't trust their systems, they lean on excitement. When they don't trust their habits, they lean on hype. But hype fades. Discipline compounds. Small actions repeated daily outperform big moments repeated occasionally. That's why the most powerful transformations often come from people you didn't see coming. They weren't announcing. They were preparing. Discipline also creates leverage. It builds skill, resilience, and confidence that cannot be taken away. When challenges come, disciplined people don't panic. They adjust. They've already practiced obedience to process. Loud people collapse under pressure because their foundation is attention, not ability. Attention disappears quickly. Ability stays. In 2026, Opportunities will reward those who are ready, not those who are visible. Readiness is earned in private. It's built in routines, standards, and choices no one celebrates. The disciplined will move faster because they don't waste time explaining, reacting, or recovering from burnout. They will have clarity while others have confusion. They will have momentum while others have excuses. The future doesn't care who talked the most. It only responds to who was consistent the longest. And when the disciplined finally step forward, it won't look sudden. It will look inevitable, because discipline always wins quietly first and publicly later. As you step into 2026, understand this clearly. Silence is not weakness, it's strategy. Protect your vision. Stop paying taxes in the form of opinions. Choose results over announcements. Guard your energy like capital. Accept that not everyone wants you to win, and that's okay. And above all, commit to discipline when no one is clapping. You don't need to explain your next move. You don't need permission to grow. You don't need applause to proceed. Let your work speak. Let your consistency defend you, and let your results introduce you. The loud will keep talking. The disciplined will keep building. And when 2026 looks up, it won't reward who was heard the most. It will reward who showed up the longest. That's your season.